Hi, I'm Scott Humphrey, CEO of the World Floor Covering Association, and this is Leadership Live. So you remember that I'm taking you through the book, It's Your Ship, one of my favorite leadership books of all time. It's about Captain Michael Abrashoff and his captaining of the Benfold, which when he took it over was one of the worst ships performance-wise in the Navy with the worst re-enlistment rate. And within a year, he had turned that around to be one of the best performing, most technologically advanced ships in the Navy with the highest re-enlistment rate. Abrashoff understood that there are certain key qualities in leadership that will help you set the example for your people. And that, ironically, is the third chapter. He talks about leading by example. I read that chapter over again. I've read this book many times, but as I read it this time, I was thinking about Veterans Day, which we have just celebrated. And I realized that there's probably no one who better understands sacrifice and leading by example than veterans. There's a reason that they get frustrated when they see the country going in a direction they don't believe in or someone burning the flag, because they have sacrificed for the freedom that allows those things to happen, even though they may not agree with the outcome and what people are doing. Military and sacrifice go hand in hand. I recently had a conversation just on the backside of Veterans Day with one of my favorite veterans. His name is Paul Pumphrey. Paul was a past chairman of both organizations that merged together to create the WFCA. He's 96 years old, and years ago when I found out he had not been to the World War II Memorial, the board of the WFCA agreed to take him to Washington, D.C., and when we found out we were going to be able to take him, we called the branch of the military he was in, the Merchant Marines, and found out that he had 13 medals coming to him that he had not claimed. It was an amazing encounter to meet with the head of the Merchant Marine for the United States and to see them present those medals in a plaque to Paul Pumphrey. Paul understands sacrifice. He understands the importance of setting the example. Sacrifice does three things I really want you to think about, because without these three things, you'll never fully get the respect of your team. Sacrifice creates loyalty. Sacrifice eliminates entitlement, that thought that I deserve this, or I'm worthy of this, or you have to treat me a certain way. And sacrifice earns respect. Listen, one of the first things he says in chapter 3, in this chapter talking about leading by example, is he says a leader will never accomplish what he or she wants by ordering it to be done. Real leadership must be done by example. Man, there are so many people who have sacrificed time with family, a loved one, or maybe even their lives to give us the freedom that we have in this country. And as we go into next week, where we're going to be talking about being thankful, I want to share with you a story of people that sacrificed to make our country what it is today. Did you know that the Declaration of Independence was signed by 56 men? Listen to what happened to some of those men and their sacrifice to give us the freedom that we have today. 5 were captured and tortured to death. 12 had their homes and all their belongings burned. 2 lost their sons in the Revolutionary Army. 2 had sons that were captured and tortured. 9 of those people that signed the Declaration of Independence actually fought for our independence and died. Nelson, who was a famous naval leader, had his home taken over by General Cornwallis, and he directed George Washington to fire upon his home. He cared so much about our country that he was willing to give up that which meant the most to him. And so with the British camped out at his home, he asked George Washington to fire on his home, and they did, and it destroyed the home. And Nelson died with nothing except the knowledge that he had sacrificed for something much bigger and better than him. We are the living legacy of these people who have sacrificed to give us the life, the freedoms that we have today. Listen, nothing is more important to your leadership than leading by example, showing others what your expectation is. When you're having a good day, they're likely to have a good day. When you're having a bad day, they'll tend to mimic what you're feeling. So let me restate to you these 3 important things that leading by example and sacrificing do for you. Sacrifice creates loyalty. Sacrifice eliminates entitlement, which you probably picked up on is one of my pet peeves, people who just think they belong there. And sacrifice earns respect. To Paul Pumphrey and all the other veterans, those who sacrificed time away from family, who were injured in the military, or who gave their lives, thank you. Thank you for leading by example. And may all of you who are watching this determine in your heart to do the same, whether it be in your home, in your church, in your community, or certainly at your place of employment. Lead, but lead by example. It's what you're supposed to do. So go out there and lead.